The knock in the snow. It was the coldest night the town had seen in 40 years. Snow fell from the sky like white dust without end. The wind moved through the empty streets and made a long, sad sound. Every house was dark. Every door was closed. No one wanted to be outside in that storm. At the very edge of the town stood a small wooden house. It was old but strong. The windows were covered with ice from the inside. Smoke rose slowly from the chimney. Inside the house, Ethan sat alone near the fire. He was a quiet man. He worked at the town repair shop. He fixed broken machines and sometimes broken heaters in winter. He did not talk much. He did not smile much either. After his parents passed away years ago, he chose to live alone. He liked silence. But that night, even the silence felt heavy. The fire in the fireplace moved softly. The clock on the wall ticked slowly. Tick, tick, tick. Outside, the wind hit the walls hard. Ethan looked at the clock. 11:59 p.m. This storm is getting worse, he said softly to himself. Then the clock changed. 12 a.m. And at that exact moment, knock. Ethan did not move. Maybe it was the wind, he thought. The storm was strong enough to shake the door. He looked back at the fire. Then again, knock, knock. This time it was clear. Slow, heavy, not the wind. Someone was at the door. Ethan's body became still. No one visited him. Not in summer, not in winter, and never at midnight. His heart started to beat faster. Who would walk through this storm? He stood up slowly. The wooden floor made a small sound under his steps. He moved toward the door, but stopped halfway. Another knock came, weaker this time, almost like the person outside had no strength left. Ethan felt something strange in his chest. Fear and something else. He reached for the door handle. His hand was cold. For 1 second, he thought about ignoring it. If he did not open the door, the problem would go away. The knocking stopped. The silence returned. But the silence felt wrong now. He slowly unlocked the door. The wind pushed hard as he opened it. Cold air rushed inside the house like ice water. Snow blew across the floor. Ethan covered his eyes from the snow. Then he looked down. At first, he did not understand what he was seeing. It was small, curled up near the door, almost hidden under snow. It was not a dog, not a child, not any animal he knew. It had wings, small wings, covered in pale blue scales. Its body was thin and shaking. Ice had formed on the edges of its wings. Its tail was wrapped around itself. And its eyes were glowing softly in the dark. A dragon, a small dragon. Ethan's breath stopped. Dragons were stories, old tales people told children. They were not real, but this one was real, and it was freezing. The tiny dragon tried to lift its head. Its movements were slow and weak. It looked up at Ethan. Its eyes were not angry. They were afraid. Its mouth opened slightly. A small cloud of cold air came out. In a very soft voice, almost like a whisper, it spoke. Help, please. Ethan felt the world around him go silent. The storm faded from his ears. The wind disappeared. There was only that small voice. Help. He looked behind him into his warm house. Then back at the creature in the snow. This was not normal. This was not safe. If anyone saw this, if this thing was dangerous, his mind filled with questions. But the dragon child tried to move again and failed. Its body shook harder. Ice cracked slightly on its wings. It would not survive the night. Ethan knew that. He had seen enough broken machines and frozen animals in winter to know when something was close to death. The dragon's glowing eyes slowly began to dim. Please, it whispered again. Ethan made his choice. Without another thought, he stepped forward into the snow. The cold hit his face like knives. He bent down carefully. The dragon was lighter than he expected. Too light. Its body was burning cold, not hot like in the stories. He quickly carried it inside and shut the door hard against the wind. The house became quiet again, but everything had changed. Ethan placed the small dragon gently near the fire. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the dragon moved slightly closer to the warmth. Its frozen wings made a soft cracking sound as the ice slowly began to melt. Ethan stepped back. He stared at the creature in front of him. What are you? He whispered. The dragon opened its eyes again. The soft blue glow returned. Outside, Far above the storm clouds, something moved in the dark sky. Large shadows turned in slow circles. Watching, waiting. But Ethan did not know that yet. All he knew was this. A freezing dragon child had knocked on his door, and he had let it in. By morning, nothing would ever be the same. The fire that would not burn. The fire in Ethan's house was strong, but the dragon child was still cold. Very cold. Ethan had placed it close to the fireplace. The orange light moved across its pale blue scales. Small drops of melted ice fell from its wings onto the wooden floor. The storm outside became louder. Wind hit the walls. Snow covered the windows. But inside the house, there was another kind of storm growing. The dragon's body suddenly shook hard. Not from cold, from fear. Its glowing eyes opened wide and looked toward the door. Not at the door, through the door, as if it could feel something far away. Ethan noticed the change. "It's okay," he said in a low voice. "You're safe here." The dragon tried to speak, but only a weak sound came out. Then it lifted its small head and opened its mouth. A tiny spark appeared. Just a spark. Then it died. No fire. Ethan frowned. In every story, dragons had fire. Fire was their power. Fire was their life. But this dragon had none. The dragon looked at its own mouth as if confused. Then it whispered one word. "Gone." "What is gone?" Ethan asked carefully. "My fire." Its voice was shaking. Ethan did not understand how a dragon could lose fire. But he understood one thing clearly. Without fire, this creature was helpless. And something had scared it enough to run through a deadly storm. Suddenly, a loud sound came from outside. Not thunder, not wind. It was deep, like metal hitting metal. Ethan froze. The dragon's claws gripped the floor. Boom! Again, this time closer. Ethan moved slowly toward the window and wiped away the ice with his sleeve. At first, he saw nothing. Only white snow moving in the dark. Then, far down the road, a red light flashed for 1 second, then disappeared. Ethan's heart started beating faster. That was not normal. No cars drove in this storm. No one lived this far outside town except him. Behind him, the dragon tried to stand. It was weak, but fear gave it strength. "They found me," it whispered. "Who found you?" Ethan asked. The dragon looked at him. Its glowing eyes were no longer soft. They were filled with warning. "The Iron Hunters." The name felt heavy in the air. Ethan had never heard it before, but the way the dragon said it made his stomach turn cold. Another sound came from outside. Engines. Low. Powerful. More than one. They were not driving fast. They were moving slow. Careful. Searching. The dragon pulled itself closer to the fire, but not for warmth now. For defense. Its wings opened slightly. Ice cracked and fell. Ethan stepped back from the window. "You're telling me someone is hunting you?" he asked. The dragon nodded weakly. "They hunt all of us." "All of who?" "Dragons." The word felt unreal. Dragons. More than one. So this was not the only one. How do they fight dragons? Ethan asked quietly. The dragon swallowed. With cold. That one word hit harder than anything else. Cold. Of course. Fire dies in cold. Metal weapons. The dragon continued softly. Weapons that freeze fire. That stop hearts. Ethan's mind raced. This was impossible. Dragons were not real. Hunters with anti-dragon weapons were not real. And yet, engines were moving closer. Headlights flashed again between trees. The dragon suddenly cried out softly and grabbed its chest. Ethan rushed forward. "What is wrong?" The dragon's glow became unstable. It flickered like a weak light bulb. "They marked me," it said. "Marked you?" "Tracker, inside." Ethan stared. "You mean they can find you anywhere?" The dragon closed its eyes. "Yes." The engines outside stopped. Silence filled the night. Heavy, dangerous silence. Ethan felt it. That quiet before something breaks. Then, a bright white light suddenly scanned across his house from outside. It passed over the windows. Slow, careful, hunting. Ethan's breathing became shallow. "They're here," he whispered. The dragon looked toward the door again. "No," it said weakly. "They're checking," as if to prove it. A voice echoed from outside. "Calm, cold." Through a speaker, thermal reading confirmed. Target is inside the structure. Ethan's blood froze. Target. They were talking about the dragon. Another voice replied. Prepare containment units. Do not damage the building unless necessary. Containment. Not rescue. Not help. Capture. Or worse. The dragon tried to stand fully now. It was shaking badly. You must let me go, it said. What? If they find me here, they will burn everything. Ethan looked at the small creature in front of him. It could barely stand. It had no fire, no strength, and outside were trained hunters with machines. If I open that door, Ethan said slowly, you won't survive 5 minutes. The dragon did not answer, because it knew he was right. Outside, heavy boots stepped on his snow. Crunch, crunch, crunch. They were walking toward the house. Ethan's mind screamed at him to run. Hide. Call someone. But who would believe him? He looked at the dragon again. Small. Alone. Afraid. Just like he had been after his parents died. He made a decision. Fast. Is there a way to remove the tracker? He asked. The dragon blinked slowly. Painful. I fix machines for a living, Ethan said firmly. Tell me where it is. The dragon placed a claw on the center of its chest. Under scale. Near heart. Ethan swallowed hard. Outside, a loud knock at the door. Not weak. Not polite. Powerful. Open the door, a voice ordered. Ethan looked at the dragon. Then, at his tools hanging on the wall. He had seconds. Maybe less. Another knock shook the house. Final warning. Open the door. Ethan grabbed his toolkit. He knelt beside the dragon. This is going to hurt, he said. The dragon looked straight into his eyes. Better than dying. Outside, the door handle slowly began to turn. And inside, Ethan placed the cold metal tool against the dragon's scale. The night was no longer about survival. It was about choice. And Ethan had chosen a side. The door broke before dawn. The door did not open. It exploded, which shattered across the room as a freezing blast shot inside the house. The fire in the fireplace instantly turned blue, then weak, then small. Cold smoke filled the air. Ethan fell back onto the floor. The tool in his hand slid across the wood. 3 tall figures stepped inside. They wore black metal suits. Their helmets had red glass over the eyes. Tubes on their backs released white frozen mist into the air. The room temperature dropped in seconds. The leader spoke calmly. Target located. Behind Ethan, the dragon cried out in pain. The small cut on its chest was still open. The tracker inside was half removed. The leader lifted a silver weapon. It was long and thin, glowing with pale blue light. Step away from the creature, he ordered. Ethan stood up slowly. His heart was pounding so loud he could hear it in his ears. That's a child, Ethan said. The hunter's red visor turned toward him. It is not a child. It is a species threat. 2 more hunters entered. One carried a metal cage shaped like a sphere. The cage had glowing lines across it. Cold energy moved through the bars like electricity. The dragon tried to move, but collapsed. Its glow flickered again. Weak. Dying. Please, it whispered to Ethan. The leader aimed his weapon directly at the dragon. Ethan moved without thinking. He stepped in front of it. The hunter paused. Human, the leader said in a flat voice, move aside. This does not concern you. It does now, Ethan replied. The hunter tilted his head slightly. You are protecting it. Yes. The air became even colder. The leader lowered his weapon just a little. You do not understand what you are doing. Then explain it, Ethan said. One of the hunters stepped forward. This creature belongs to a species that once burned cities, once ruled the sky, once hunted your kind. Ethan looked back at the dragon. It was small, shaking, bleeding. That one can't even stand, Ethan said. The leader's voice hardened. They grow. Outside, another loud sound echoed across the sky. A deep rumble. Not thunder. Something else. All 4 hunters froze. Their helmets turned upward at the same time. The leader touched the side of his helmet. Multiple heat signatures detected, he said quietly. Another hunter responded, voice tight. Large signatures. The dragon's eyes suddenly glowed brighter. Not blue. Gold. A low vibration moved through the air. Ethan felt it in his chest. Like a giant heartbeat. Boom. 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 Outside, the snow stopped falling. The wind slowed. The night became still. Too still. The leader raised his weapon again. Secure the target now. One hunter fired a freezing blast. Ethan grabbed the broken table and flipped it in front of them. The blast hit the wood. The table turned white instantly, then shattered into ice dust. The dragon forced itself up. Its wings opened wide. The golden glow spread across its scales. The half-removed tracker fell out from its chest onto the floor. It began to spark wildly. The dragon looked at Ethan. Its voice was no longer weak. They are here. The hunters aimed their weapons at it together. But before they could fire, the roof of the house cracked. A shadow passed over the building. Huge, massive. The windows shattered outward. A powerful roar split the night. Not from inside the house. From above it. The hunters stumbled back. The leader shouted, "Fall back. Defensive formation." The ceiling exploded as something enormous landed on the roof. Would snap like thin sticks. Dust filled the room. Through the broken ceiling, two giant golden eyes looked down. Ancient, fierce, alive. The hunters stepped back slowly. One whispered, "Alpha-class dragon." Outside, the sky was no longer dark. It was moving. Shapes circled in the clouds. Wings larger than cars. Tails cutting through the air. The dragon child stood taller now. Its glow burned bright gold. It looked up at the giant eyes above and spoke one word, "Mother." The giant dragon on the roof let out another roar. This one was not anger. It was warning. The hunters knew that sound. Retreat. The leader lowered his weapon slowly. "This operation is compromised," he said. Behind him, the snow outside began to melt in large circles. More dragons were landing. The ground shook with each impact. The leader looked at Ethan one last time. "You have chosen the wrong side, human." Ethan stood straight. "No," he said firmly. "I chose the right one." The giant dragon's claws tore open the rest of the roof. Cold air rushed inside again, but it was no longer empty. The sky above the house was filled with dragons. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Their wings blocked the moon. Their eyes burned like stars. The small dragon walked past Ethan toward the open sky, its golden glow now strong and steady. The hunters slowly backed away toward their broken door. For the first time, they looked afraid. The giant dragon lowered its massive head toward Ethan. Its golden eyes studied him carefully. Close enough now, Ethan could see scars across its scales. Old battle marks. Ancient pain, but no hatred. The dragon's deep voice filled the air. "You protected my child." Ethan could barely breathe. He nodded once. The dragon queen lifted her head high. Behind her, the sky trembled with wings. "Then tonight," she said, "humans will not burn." The hunters ran. Their trucks started in panic. Engines roared. They escaped down the snowy road. But they did not look back. Because above them, the sky no longer belonged to hunters. By morning, the world would know. Dragons were not a story, and one human had changed everything. The blood of the sky. The night did not become quiet after the hunters ran. It became louder. The sky was alive. Wings moved through the clouds like a dark ocean. The air shook with power. Snow melted before it could touch the ground. Ethan stood in the broken remains of his house. Above him, dragons circled. Not dozens. Hundreds. Their scales reflected moonlight like moving stars. Some were red like fire. Some were silver like steel. Some were dark as shadows. And in the center of them all, the dragon queen. She landed slowly in front of the house. The ground cracked under her weight. She was larger than any building in town. Her wings spread wide across the snow like living mountains. Gold lines moved through her scales like light under glass. Her eyes were ancient, not angry, not wild. Watching, the small dragon walked forward, no longer weak, no longer shaking. Its glow was strong and golden now. Ethan felt something shift in the air. The child was not just healed. It had changed. The queen lowered her head. "Lyra," she said softly. The name moved through the air like thunder in the distance. So that was her name. Lyra. The dragon child turned to Ethan. Her voice was calm now. "I did not tell you everything." Ethan gave a tired half smile. "I guessed that." Lyra stepped into the open snow between Ethan and the queen. I'm not just her child, she said. I am the flame heir. The sky reacted. Dragons roared together. The sound was not chaos. It was loyalty. Ethan looked from Lyra to the queen. What does that mean? He asked quietly. The queen answered. It means when I fall, she rises. The words felt heavy, like a warning from the future. Lyra looked down at her chest, where the tracker had been removed. The hunters did not chase me by accident, she said. They knew who I was. Ethan's stomach tightened. You mean they were not just hunting dragons, he said. They were hunting you. Lyra nodded slowly. To end our bloodline. Silence spread across the snowy field. Even the wind did not move. The queen lifted her head toward the sky. In the last great war, she said, her voice deep and powerful, humans feared our fire. So they built cold. They built iron. They built hunters. Her golden eyes moved to Ethan. But not all humans forgot kindness. Ethan did not know what to say. He was just a repairman. A man who opened his door. That was all. Suddenly, a loud scream cut through the sky. Not from Dragon. From one of the hunters' trucks far down the road. A blast of blue light shot upward. The sky flashed. One dragon cried out in pain. It fell from the clouds, smoke rising from its wing. Ethan's heart dropped. They're still fighting, he whispered. The queen's eyes burned brighter. They never stopped. Another blue blast fired from the forest edge. Then another. Hidden weapons. Hidden soldiers. This was not a retreat. It was a trap. Dragons roared in anger. Fire lit the sky. But the blue cold weapons answered back. Lyra stepped forward suddenly. Her golden glow spread across the snow like sunlight. No, she shouted. The dragons froze midair. Even the queen paused. Lyra's voice became stronger than before. If we burn them, the war begins again. Another dragon screamed in the distance. Blue light struck its side. Lyra closed her eyes. Then she did something no one expected. She walked toward the forest, toward the hidden hunters. Alone. Ethan grabbed her arm gently. That's not safe, he said. Lyra looked at him. I was born for this. The queen's deep voice shook the ground. You are not ready. Lyra turned to her mother. If I hide behind you, I never will be. The sky felt like it was holding its breath. Lyra walked into the snowfield between dragons and humans. She stood alone in the open, golden light around her body. She lifted her wings wide. The hidden hunters aimed their weapons. Red laser dots covered her small chest. Ethan felt fear like ice in his veins. Don't, he whispered. But Lyra did not attack. She did not roar. She did not breathe fire. Instead, she knelt. In front of them, the dragons gasped. Even the queen moved slightly in shock. Lyra lowered her head. I will not burn your world, she shouted toward the trees. Her voice echoed across the frozen field. But I will not let you erase mine. Silence answered her. The blue weapons glowed brighter. One hunter stepped out from the forest. Then another. Dozens. Weapons raised. The leader removed his helmet. His face was cold. Hard. You think mercy makes you strong? He asked. Lyra lifted her head slowly. No, she said. It makes me different. The hunter aimed directly at her heart. Ethan started running forward, but the queen moved first. Her giant wings slammed into the ground in front of Lyra. Snow exploded upward like a wall. The blast from the hunter's weapon hit the queen instead. Blue energy spread across her golden scales. Ice crawled over her wing. She did not scream. She did not move. She only looked at the hunters with ancient power in her eyes. The sky darkened again. Dragons moved lower. Closer. Lyra stood and faced the hunter leader. You see, she said softly, this is what your fear does. The hunter hesitated. For the first time, he lowered his weapon slightly. Behind him, the other hunters shifted. Uncertain, the queen spoke again. We did not come to conquer. Her voice rolled across the land. We came because one human chose kindness. All eyes turned to Ethan. He stood in the snow. Small. Human. Breathing hard. The hunter leader looked at him. You would risk your species for them? Ethan answered without thinking. They risked theirs for me. The night felt different now. Not like war. Like a moment balanced on a knife. Lyra stepped forward again. Her golden glow brighter than ever. No more hiding, she said. No more hunting. Her eyes burned like sunrise. We stand together, or we fall forever. Above them, the sky waited, and the world stood on the edge of something new. The sky that chose a side. No one fired. No one moved. The frozen field stood silent between two futures. Blue weapons glowed in human hands. Golden fire glowed in dragon eyes. And in the center, a child stood between extinction and war. Lyra's wings were still open. Snow melted around her feet in a perfect circle of light. Her golden glow pushed back the dark like a small sun rising too early. The hunter leader tightened his grip on his weapon. "You speak of peace," he said coldly, "but your kind ruled the sky once. You burned cities." Lyra's voice did not shake, "and your kind built chains of ice." The words cut deeper than any blade. Behind her, the Dragon Queen's frozen wing cracked. Ice shattered and fell like broken glass. She stepped forward, placing herself behind her daughter, but not in front of her. This time, Lyra was not hiding. She was leading. High above, dragons lowered their flight. Not attacking. Waiting. The hunter leader raised his weapon again. "End it," one of his men whispered. "Now." But before he could fire, the ground trembled. Not from dragons. From something below. A deep vibration moved through the earth. Snow jumped in tiny waves. The trees at the edge of the forest shook. Ethan felt it under his boots. "What is that?" he asked. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. They turned it on. The hunter leader did not deny it. Behind the human line, a large metal machine slowly rose from under the snow. It had been hidden beneath the forest floor. Tall, dark, covered in spinning blue rings. Cold energy pulsed from its center. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. "That's not a weapon," he whispered. Lyra answered quietly. "It is worse." The machine hummed louder. The sky changed. The golden glow of dragons flickered. One by one, their fire dimmed. A red dragon high above tried to roar, but only smoke came from its mouth. Another dragon's wings weakened midair. It barely stayed flying. The machine was not attacking their bodies. It was draining them. The hunter leader smiled slightly. "Project Frostfall," he said. "It erases heat at the source." Lyra's golden glow shook. Ethan stepped closer to her. "What is it doing?" he asked urgently. "It is pulling the fire from our blood," she whispered. The Dragon Queen roared and launched into the air. She aimed straight for the machine. The hunters fired together. Blue beams struck her wings. She pushed through, but the closer she flew to the machine, the weaker her fire became. Her golden scales turned dull. She fell hard into the snow, sliding across the frozen field. The dragons above began to scatter in panic. The sky was no longer full of power. It was full of fear. The hunter leader pointed at Lyra. "Once the air falls, the rest will break." Weapons aimed at her again. Ethan stepped fully in front of Lyra. His voice was shaking but loud. "You built a machine to steal life?" "We built survival," the hunter answered. Ethan looked at the giant machine. Spinning, humming, feeding. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He fixed broken things. And right now, he saw something very broken. He turned to Lyra quickly. "If it drains heat, it needs power to run, right?" Lyra struggled to stay standing. "Yes, it feeds on energy. Then it can overload." She looked at him. Understanding slowly appeared in her eyes. "You would have to give it more than it can take." Ethan nodded once. Above them, dragons were falling from the sky. The machine grew brighter. The hunter leader shouted, "Fire!" Blue beams shot toward Lyra. But before they hit, the Dragon Queen lifted her body one last time and spread her wings around Ethan and Lyra. The beams struck her back. Ice crawled across her scales. She did not scream. She only whispered to her daughter. "Now!" Lyra stepped forward from under her mother's wing. Her golden glow changed. It was no longer warm. It was white, blinding, pure. The snow around her turned to steam. The hunters shielded their eyes. The machine hummed louder, excited, pulling harder. "Try and drink her fire." Lyra lifted into the air. Small, bright, powerful. She did not roar. She did not attack. She let the machine pull. Ethan realized what she was doing. "She's feeding it," he whispered. The hunter leader's face changed. "Shut it down," he shouted. But it was too late. Lyra's light became unbearable. The machine's rings spun faster and faster. Blue energy cracked across its surface. The sound grew high and sharp, like metal screaming. The machine tried to hold the power, but Lyra gave more than it was built to handle, more than fear could contain. The sky turned white. For 1 second, everything froze. Then, the machine exploded, not in fire, in silence. The blue light vanished. The cold energy disappeared. The shockwave pushed snow outward in every direction. Ethan fell backward into the snow. When he looked up, the sky was gold again. Dragons roared, stronger than before. Their fire returned all at once. Brighter, angrier, alive. The hunters dropped their weapons. The machine was gone. Only black metal pieces remained in the snow. Lyra fell from the sky. Ethan ran forward and caught her before she hit the ground. Her glow was soft now, weak again, but peaceful. The hunter leader slowly stood up from the snow. He looked around at the sky full of dragons. He looked at the broken machine, then at Ethan holding the dragon heir. "You just started something you cannot control," he said quietly. Ethan met his eyes. "No," he replied. "You try to end something you never understood." Above them, dragons filled the sky once more. But this time, they were not hiding, and they were not afraid. By sunrise, the world would see wings over every city, and humanity would have to decide, fear again, or something greater. The night humans chose. The explosion of the machine was not the end. It was a signal. Before sunrise, the sky over the town was no longer just filled with dragons. It was filled with helicopters. Dark shapes appeared from the south. Military aircraft cut through the clouds. Red warning lights blinked across their bodies. Ethan looked up from the snow, still holding Lyra in his arms. "This is not over," he whispered. The dragon queen stood tall despite the ice still melting from her scales. Her golden eyes followed the machines in the sky. "They called the army," she said. The sound of loudspeakers echoed across the frozen field. "Unknown aerial creatures. This is the National Defense Command. You are entering restricted airspace. Stand down immediately." Dragons roared in response. Fire lit the sky again, but Lyra lifted her weak hand. "No." Her voice was soft, but every dragon heard it, and they obeyed. The helicopters circled carefully, keeping distance. More trucks arrived on the ground. Soldiers stepped out, aiming weapons upward. Not blue cold weapons. Missiles. Real war weapons. Ethan's heart felt heavy. This was bigger than hunters now. This was nations. Fear had reached the top. A military vehicle drove forward. A tall officer stepped out. He removed his hat slowly, staring at the sky full of wings. His face showed shock, but also calculation. He spoke into a radio. "Yes, they are real." Lyra slowly stood on her own feet. Her glow was dim, but steady. She looked at Ethan. "This is the true test," she said. The dragon queen lowered her head beside her daughter. "If they attack," the queen said quietly, "we end it tonight." Ethan looked between them. "And if you end it, millions will die." The queen did not deny it. Above, a jet screamed across the sky as a warning shot. The missile did not aim at a dragon. It exploded high above as a message. "We can reach you." The dragons tightened their formation. Wings overlapped. Fire built in their throats. The air felt seconds away from burning. Lyra stepped forward into the open snow again. This time, she did not glow gold. She glowed white, soft, bright, peaceful. She rose slowly into the air, small compared to the giants around her. The military commander watched her rise. "What is that one doing?" a soldier whispered. Lyra stopped between the army and the dragons. She spread her wings wide. Then she did something no dragon had done in centuries. She bowed in the air. The entire sky gasped. Even the soldiers froze. Dragons do not bow. Not to humans. Not to anyone. Her voice echoed across speakers, radios, and open air. "We do not want your land. Silence. We do not want your cities." The helicopters hovered uncertainly. "We only want to live." The commander stepped forward. "And how we trust that?" he shouted through a megaphone. Lyra looked down at him. "You don't," she answered honestly. The honesty confused him. Ethan slowly walked forward in the snow, placing himself under Lyra in clear sight. She knocked on my door. Ethan shouted. All eyes turned to him. She was freezing. She was dying. And she asked for help. The commander stared at Ethan. You're the civilian? Yes. You're aware you are standing between the military and unknown species. Ethan swallowed. Yes. And you're not afraid? Ethan looked up at the sky, full of dragons. Then at Lyra. Then back at the soldiers. I was, he said, but fear almost killed them. And it almost killed us. The wind moved softly now. No storm. Just waiting. The commander lowered his megaphone slowly. Behind him, soldiers shifted nervously. If we stand down, the commander said carefully, and they attack later, it's on me. The Dragon Queen suddenly lifted into the air behind Lyra. Massive, powerful, terrifying. Gasps spread across the military line. She flew forward until she was directly above Ethan. Then, she folded her wings and landed behind him. Not in front, behind, protecting the human. The message was clear. The commander saw it. A dragon protecting a man, not the other way around. Lyra's voice became stronger. One human saved me, she said. We will not forget that. She looked at Ethan, then at the soldiers. Give us space in the sky, she said, and we will guard it for you. The commander's eyes narrowed. Guard from what? Lyra looked toward the horizon. Far beyond the town. Far beyond the mountains. There are worse things than dragons, she said quietly. The words felt heavy. True. The commander lowered his weapon hand. Slowly, one by one, soldiers lowered theirs too. Helicopters backed away slightly. The tension cracked. Not fully gone, but breaking. The commander spoke into his radio again. Stand down. Repeat. Stand down. Gasps of disbelief came through the line. But the order was clear. Weapons lowered. Missiles disarmed. The sky remained full of dragons. But no fire came. No war began. Lyra slowly descended back to the ground. She almost collapsed, but Ethan caught her again. You did it, he whispered. She shook her head softly. No, she said. We did. The Dragon Queen looked at the rising sun on the horizon. Light touched her scales. For the first time, she said, humans chose differently. As the sun rose fully, dragons filled the sky, not as invaders, not as rulers, but as guardians. And on that morning, the world did not burn. It changed. By morning, the sky belonged to both. The sun did not rise quietly. It rose over wings. Golden light touched the clouds, and everywhere the light moved, dragons were there. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands now. They filled the sky above the town like living mountains of fire and shadow. People came out of their houses slowly, phones in shaking hands, children holding their parents. No one screamed. No one ran. They just stared, because the dragons were not attacking. They were circling, watching, protecting. Ethan stood in the snow beside Lyra as the first sunlight touched her scales. Her golden glow mixed with the color of dawn. She looked smaller in the daylight, younger, but her eyes were older than before. Far at the edge of town, military vehicles remained parked. Soldiers stood ready, but their weapons were lowered. The commander walked forward again, this time without a megaphone. He stopped a few meters from Ethan. So this is it? He asked quietly. We just live with dragons now. Before Ethan could answer, the sky changed. A deep shadow moved across the sunlight, bigger than the Dragon Queen. Higher, faster. Lyra's body became tense. That is not ours, she whispered. The Dragon Queen looked up sharply. A long, dark shape cut through the upper clouds. Its wings were thinner, sharper. Its scales were not gold or red. They were black, not natural black, empty black, like burned stone. A cold feeling spread across the field. The dragons in the sky shifted formation instantly. Protective, alert. The black dragon did not roar. It did not glow. It simply hovered high above, watching. The commander stepped back slowly. You said worse things exist, he muttered. Lyra stepped forward. Yes, she said. Her voice was calm, but tight. That is one of them. The black dragon's eyes opened. They were not gold, not red. They were silver, without warmth, without emotion. It finally spoke, and its voice felt like metal scraping against metal. So this is where the air hides. The words rolled across the town like thunder. People covered their ears. The Dragon Queen launched into the air, placing herself between the Black Dragon and Lyra. You were exiled, the Queen growled. You chose destruction. The Black Dragon tilted its head slightly. I chose evolution. The air around it shimmered strangely. Small cracks of dark energy moved across its wings. Ethan felt fear again, but not the same fear as before. This was older, deeper. Lyra stepped into the open snow once more. She did not hide behind her mother. She did not glow white this time. She glowed gold. Strong. Royal. You followed me, she said. The Black Dragon's silver eyes narrowed. You destroyed Frostfall. You removed balance. Balance, Lyra replied. You sided with hunters. I sided with survival. The Black Dragon's wings spread wider. High above, more dark shapes appeared in the clouds behind it. Not as many as the golden dragons. But enough. The Dragon Queen roared, and the sky answered her. Golden dragons moved into battle lines. The Black Dragon looked down at the humans. So fragile, it said softly. You defend them. They will betray you again. Lyra did not look away. One human opened a door, she answered. That is enough. The Black Dragon's silver eyes moved to Ethan. You had said. Ethan swallowed but stood firm. Yes. You changed the sky. I opened a door, Ethan replied. The Black Dragon studied him for a long moment. Then it laughed. A low, cold sound. Then watched carefully, human. Its body began to absorb light around it. The sky dimmed unnaturally. The golden dragons prepared to attack. The soldiers on the ground raised weapons again, unsure. The world stood on another edge. But this time, Lyra did not wait. She lifted into the air fast, higher than before. Her golden fire burst outward, not in anger, but in brightness. Pure light. It pushed against the spreading darkness. The two forces met in the sky. Gold and black. Warmth and void. The ground trembled. Windows cracked. The commander shouted orders to hold position. The Dragon Queen joined her daughter in the air. Mother and heir side by side. The golden dragons roared together. The Black Dragon pushed harder, dark energy spreading like ink. You cannot protect both worlds, it shouted. Lyra's voice answered like thunder. I do not have to choose. Her golden fire expanded, not burning, not destroying, connecting. The light touched the other dragons. It touched the humans below. For 1 second, everyone felt it. The warmth, the memory of kindness. The night a door opened. The Black Dragon hesitated, just for a second, and that was enough. The Dragon Queen struck first, not with claws, not with fire, but with force. She slammed into the Black Dragon midair. Golden and black spiraled through the clouds. A massive shockwave exploded across the sky. The dark shapes behind the Black Dragon scattered. Retreating, the Black Dragon pulled away, wings damaged, silver eyes burning with anger. This is not finished, it growled. No, Lyra replied firmly. It is just beginning. The Black Dragon turned and disappeared into the high clouds. Silence followed. Slowly, the sunlight returned. The golden dragons remained. The dark ones were gone. For now, Lyra descended slowly back to the snow. She was tired, very tired, but alive. The Dragon Queen landed beside her. The commander stepped forward again, staring at the sky in disbelief. You weren't asking for protection, he said quietly. You were offering it. Lyra nodded. There are storms coming, she said. Bigger than fear, bigger than old wars. She looked at Ethan. And we will not face them alone. The sun rose fully now. Golden wings filled the sky, not as rulers, not as myths, but as guardians. Humans stood below, not as prey, not as masters, but as partners. Ethan looked up at the sky. He thought he knew his whole life. It would never be empty again. A freezing dragon child had knocked on one human's door. By morning, the sky was full of dragons. And this time, it belonged to both.